Hi everyone, it's Harry here at Fair Deal Music in Birmingham, and I'm joined once again by Paul from Yamaha. Who are you
Harry.
again, Paul?
Yes,
Hello.
good to see you.
Yeah?
Good to be here at Fair Deal Music.
So just to establish who you are, the character you are in this cinematic universe we've established. Who are you? What do you do?
So I'm Paul, I'm from Yamaha, and I'm here to show you this incredible new clavinova, the CLP 885, part of the CLP 800 series of digital pianos. Brand new, it's here in the store for anyone who wants to come down and have a try. So I want to just give you a quick overview of the new CLP 885, part of the CLP 800 series. You know what? Digital never felt so grand, and in that statement, it's a very bold statement because, of course, an acoustic grand piano is the instrument that everyone kind of aspires to.
Yeah, that's the pinnacle, that's what everyone thinks of.
Absolutely, but of course there's kind of three reasons why most people can't have a grand piano. It's very big. In fact, CFX, which is Yamaha's concert grand, it's 9 foot long. So
fit that in.
Have that in your living room. So it's very big, it's very loud, lots of resonance going on, and of course a grand piano costs a lot of money. So digital instruments are really beneficial to anyone wanting to learn to play, because we kind of take that concert grand piano and we put it into an instrument that actually is very reminiscent of an upright piano. However, when we say digital never felt so grand, from a digital point of view, there's lots of things going on with the new 800 series. I mean, it is the best clavinova that Yamaha have ever produced. From the minute that you press a key to the sound that you actually hear, there's lots going on. So let's have a look at actually what's going on. So let's start with the keyboard itself, the touch of the instrument, because that's really important. So from the point of view of when you play a key, and incidentally the keys are made of synthetic ebony and synthetic ivory, so you've got a real kind of good tactile contact with the instrument.
And saving the elephants at the same time.
And saving the elephants, of course, at the same time. We've got 88 notes, of course, a standard piano size, but the piano is actually what we call linear graded. It's part of the grand touch. So we have a grand touch action which is linear graded. Now what on earth does that mean?
That's just science.
So
mumbo jumbo you're saying.
If you're playing an acoustic grand piano, if you were to look inside, lots of things happening, lots of hammers being thrown at strings and so on and so forth. If you were to go down to the bottom end of the keyboard, you'd find that you've got a big fat hammer hitting a big fat string with a big fat damper sat on the top. So the net effect of that is the key is quite heavy. And as you progress across the keyboard, the keys actually get lighter.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was all just the same.
No,
the same
it actually gets lighter. So every key is weighted slightly differently because the hammers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, the dampers are getting smaller, the strings are getting smaller. So as you progress across from left to right, the keyboard actually becomes lighter. Now in the 885, linear grading means every key is weighted slightly differently. And that means that the playing experience is just perfect. I mean, it's just like playing an acoustic grand piano. So the feel of the instrument, absolutely perfect. Of course, once we've struck the key, once we've played the key, and that's a big thing in itself, because playing the piano is not only about which key you play. I mean, it's very important that you play the right note.
Usually, I'm told. Absolutely.
What was that saying? I played all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. Playing the right note is important, but it's how you play that note. Because you can play it with lots of different velocity. You can play it fast, you can play it slow. You can hit the key so that you're not quite hitting it all the way down to its full key depth. So depending on whether you're playing staccato or legato, all of these terms of piano playing, CLP 885 will cope with that. It works just the same as an acoustic grand piano. So moving on from the feel, which as we said is very important because that develops technique. Let's move on to the sound.
Good.
Sound is really important.
I want to hear this thing.
So sound of CLP 885 is coming directly from Yamaha's top of the range instrument, the CFX, which is about £150,000 worth of concert grand piano, and it's simply stunning. It lives in CLP 885. Let's have a listen. We We can hear all of the nuances down at the bass end. And at the top end, it's all bright and crisp. And I can actually hear all of the resonances going on within the cabinet of a concert.
Yeah, I was going to say I can hear those resonances as well. So it's all related to something called VRM.
You've been doing your homework, Harry.
I'm trying to impress.
So VRM is virtual resonance modeling, and what that means is every key that you play has an effect on the strings within the cabinet of an acoustic grand piano. So you're not just hearing the note that you're actually playing, you're actually hearing the rest of the notes kind of vibrating in sympathy with that note. If you kind of wind the clock back, I don't know, 10, 20 years, if you heard a recording of a piano, you could kind of say either that's a real acoustic piano, or I can tell it's electronic. There's something about it that's not quite right, almost too clinical. And that's because in the day we didn't have the facility to be able to record all of the resonances. Now, literally everything has been recorded, and using VRM technology, we can now model the resonances of this acoustic piano. So we get all of that while we're playing. So obviously, depending on which note you play, creates different resonances. It's mind-blowing, really. All of that technology is built in.
So what you're doing, so just to take a step back from that, so with the time and effort that's gone into essentially sample this AFX with its sympathetic resonances from related strings that are resonating, not that they've been hit, but they're vibrating because those strings resonate those others because they have the same similar harmonic content.
Yes.
It's essentially like having the actual thing in front of you, but just in not 9 foot long.
It's not 9 foot long, yeah. It's going to fit in your house perfectly. So we've talked about the keyboard, perfect. We've talked about how you play the keyboard and the sound that it produces. And there's lots of different sounds. That was one sound, that was CFX. But if I go to this panel across to the left-hand side and I just touch it, it comes alive. And now I can make selection. You can see we've got CFX, we've got Bösendorfer. Now that's a completely different piano. Bösendorfer is probably one of the most iconic, legendary brands of grand piano in the world. And we've sampled the Bösendorfer Imperial. That's an instrument that's actually got more keys than a standard piano. It's got 97 keys as opposed to 88. So now you can imagine that it's got more strings, it's got more resonance.
Does it have less or more if it's metric? Or
you see, now we're getting complicated.
I know units.
You do, absolutely. Well, let's have a listen. This is the Bösendorfer Imperial. It's just a stunning, warm, beautiful sound that kind of envelops the player. And talking about sound, we have a new technology called grand expression modeling. And what that does is, it does exactly as it says on the tin. The expression that the player puts into the instrument interprets that and delivers this beautiful sound. It's a little bit like an artist and the colour palette that we talked about. So if you wanted to mix the different colours, if you were painting a tree and you wanted to have different colours of green, you would mix the different paints to get those different colours. Transfer that into music, and we've got lots of different colours, depending on how hard you hit the key, depends on how the piano's going to sound and which notes that you play. So all you've got to do is play it. You don't need to know any of this.
Is that it?
All you've got to do is play it. That's almost the easy bit. So grand expression modeling will ensure that you're going to get this really beautiful tonality and lots of different tones, lots of different tonality. That then moves on, of course, to the delivery of the sound. And we have something called grand acoustic imaging. And what that simply means is, from the player's perspective, if you were playing an acoustic grand piano, we talked about the sound enveloping the player. This does exactly the same with the brand new speaker system that's on board CLP 885. We have bi-directional horns. We have a completely different way of amplifying the instrument. Usually the instrument would be up against a wall, right? So with the bi-directional horns, the sound is not just being portrayed from the front of the instrument, coming out the back.
To then bounce off of the wall.
It reflects off the wall, just like the lid. If you think about a grand piano with a lid, the sound is
up and then,
so it's reflected.
Yes.
So we have a reflected sound. So grand acoustic imaging delivers this sound that really is just, it's uncanny. That then, of course, moves on to the instrument itself, the look, the design of the instrument, and it's just beautiful. You'd be forgiven for thinking that it was just a regular acoustic upright piano, but of course we know now that that's disguised as a concert grand. We have a beautiful slow fall lid that just closes beautifully. So as a piece of furniture, it looks stunning, and of course it comes in several different colours. So if you want to check out the colours, pop into the shop and you can see all of the different colour finishes. This is black. It comes in polished ebony, which is a high gloss colour, and polished white, I think, as well. Moving on to features. Because features are an important part of the instrument. We've talked about the keyboard and how that works and how that's going to really help with your technique. We've talked about the sound, and there's many sounds on board the instrument. We've got lots of different piano voices. We've got electric piano voices. We've got harpsichords. We've got strings. We've got 480 XG voices on board. So if you wanted to connect to your computer and music software, the world is your oyster. We even have rhythms on board. Let's give you a quick listen. So if I just bring the screen alive and I select rhythm, first of all, let's look at metronome. Let's look at why we've got rhythms. If you're practicing and you want to keep in time, you would
usually quite good.
Yeah, metronome. So that's a metronome. That's going to keep you in time. We've got a tempo as well, so we can speed it up. We've got a bell there. However, wouldn't it be really great if you could play along with a live drummer? Because the drummer's going to keep you in time as well. But watch this. Let's select rhythm. If you listen to that, I've got the drums, but I've also got a bass player.
Got a bass in there as well,
So as long as I just play a chord anywhere on the instrument, it'll follow what I do. A great way to practice.
That's pretty good. That's really immersive, and I think that's going to be like from my perspective as a guitarist, I like to play along to pieces to either try and replicate how a guitarist has played, or just to try and learn a particular technique to really fully immerse you into that. But to have quite a reactive rhythm section.
Well, talking about immersive and talking about playing along with things, we're going to have a look at something in a minute that's really going to blow your mind. But I just wanted to also mention one more feature, which is new Grand Touch pedals.
Okay.
So we have a Grand Touch keyboard, but we also have Grand Touch pedals. And what that means is the pedals are designed in just the same way as an acoustic grand piano. So they look the same, they feel the same. So the pivot point has all been moved. Basically, in a nutshell, it works just like an acoustic grand piano. But the really important bit that I want to stress is the damper pedal, or the pedal to the right hand side, or otherwise known as the sustain pedal, also works in exactly the same way as an acoustic grand. In other words, it's got many positions. I usually liken it to a kind of a dimmer switch. Some digital instruments have got, well, little more than a switch. And I'm talking about when you sustain the note. So if I play a note without the pedal, that's staccato, so the dampers are off, and then as I release the key they fall back. If I press the pedal, the dampers lift off the strings and the note sustains. Now of course that pedal is controlling that sustain. With an acoustic grand piano you can control that sustain to quite a large degree. In other words,
it's not binary, it's not
no, it's not on or off.
Yeah, it's
usually with our other digital pianos you have a halfway point, so you have kind of off, halfway, on. But with CLP 885 and GP response you have full control. So I liken it to a light switch, like kind of on and off, or on, halfway, off. With this you have full control.
Right.
And that, you're probably thinking, well, what does that matter? Well, learning to play the piano is not just about today, it's about all of the tomorrows. So every time you play the instrument, you'll be getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And that's helping you develop a great technique. The pedal is linked to how you play the keys, because of course, as you open the damper, it's opening all that resonance. So the sound of the instrument changes. So it's developing the way that you play and the way that you interact with the pedal. GP response, a really important feature.
So that I didn't know about that before, in terms of there could be like a much more different levels of degrees of how much there's sustain there.
Oh yeah.
From my very limited knowledge of how pianos work, I thought it was just a binary thing. Like
No.
it's all just, but it makes sense that it's a physical piece of material that is moving, and of course there's going to be degrees of where that is.
Absolutely.
So I've learned something.
And for those people thinking about buying a piano, as I said, it's not just about today, it's about all of the tomorrows. So, you know, if you imagine, I don't know, little Tommy coming home from school, he's learning to play the piano, you know, his little feet might not even touch the pedals at the minute. But as he grows, as he develops, he'll be learning to use the pedal. And as he progresses through his education, whether he's doing it for fun or whether he's doing exams and grades and all the rest of it, he'll learn how to pedal. He'll learn how to use the pedal and control the instrument. So I think when you're thinking about buying a piano, it's important to think about these things, because as he develops, this instrument will literally cater for, well, anybody. Anyone from a complete beginner, just starting out on their musical journey, all the way through to, you know, a consummate professional. The CLP 885 will handle literally anything. But let's get back to what we were talking about before, because this is going to blow your mind.
Okay.
With CLP Clavinova, we can use an iPad or a selected Android device. In fact, you can use a telephone, you can use a device to connect to the instrument. So instead of using the panel to control the instrument, we can now use a device. So I've got a screen and I can actually see what I'm doing visually. I've got graphics and all sorts of, I'll tell you what, let's have a look.
Let's have a look.
So Harry, I've connected my iPad in this case. You can connect selected Android devices as well. And I've opened up the Smart Pianist app. It's a free app from Yamaha that works with Yamaha pianos. And this now gives me the ability to kind of visualize what you can do on the instrument. So I can either use the control panel, but now I've got Smart Pianist attached, I can control the instrument from the iPad. So here we have the CFX Grand Piano, which sounds amazing. Literally swipe the screen, now I've got my Bösendorfer. got that real richness of sound with the Bösendorfer. Studio Grand. What about an upright? I've got an upright piano. So I have an upright piano. A grand piano is exactly as it describes. It's a grand piano. An upright piano has a completely different sound. So this is a Yamaha upright piano, which sounds completely different to literally just swiping the screen. So I can change voices. I can go into the piano room and I can edit the piano sound, so I can change things like the damper resonance, string resonance, duplex scale resonance, body resonance. In other words, I can edit the piano voice to suit the room or suit the environment that I'm in. I can even change the environment, so I can put the piano into different rooms. Of course, that affects the sound, so we get different reverbs. I can even put it into a cathedral, so we get that huge, big reverb, big resonance. We can also do lots of other things. So let's just go back to my CFX. There's my CFX. We can even layer voices. So now, if I go into the voice section, I can see that I've got my CFX, there it is. But if I press layer, I can now add another sound on top. So in this case, I've got the DX electric piano. So I get CFX and DX piano together. Just gives us this beautiful sound. I can change that. Literally tap the screen, select one of the sounds. We've got 58 sounds, I believe, on board, plus another 480 XG voices, so you're never going to run out of voices. Let's select maybe some strings. So now I've got piano mixed with strings. What about a pad sound? So now I've got piano and pad. So I can do all of that. I can split the keyboard, so I can have a left bass sound and a sound in the right hand side. So I can do all of that. But what's really interesting about this is it can actually help you learn to play. If I go into the song section, I'm going to go to lesson. And in the lesson section, I've got lots of different lessons, different classical pieces, if I like. For instance, if I went to this book here and go to Turkish March and press done, there we have actually the score for this Turkish March. Now, if I press play, the first thing your piano teacher would do is play the tune. So there's the song. But now I can take out the right hand and I can play along with it. Or leave the right hand in and take out the left, so I can practice the left. So that's a really great practice tool. But what is also superb about this, I can then go into my user song library and I can select a particular song that I can download from the World Wide Web. I'm going to select, there it is, it's a song called Time Flies. So what about if you wanted to play along with your favourite band? I've literally downloaded the audio file, stuck it onto my iPad, and it's actually given me a chord chart to play along with the song, which is incredible. Now, this particular song is in a difficult key, so if I was to start it, let's play it. Of course, I can control the volume, I can control the tempo, so I can slow it down if I want to practice it. But because it's in a difficult key, I can change the key if I like. Watch this. So let's take it down one. So now it's in an easy key, so I can play along with it. I think it's great because you can download your favourite song and you can then play along with it. So within the app, there's lots and lots of things for you to do. Smart Pianist, have a try. It's absolutely brilliant. So here we are with I've got my iPad here, or you can use selected Android device. I've got it connected to the instrument via Bluetooth, Bluetooth MIDI and Bluetooth audio. I've cheated a little bit because I've got my power cable in there because someone forgot to charge the iPad. But we're connected through Bluetooth, MIDI and audio. So I'm controlling the piano, and all of the sound from the iPad is coming through the instrument as well. Flowkey is the ideal partner to teach you how to play. For those people who are complete novices, can't play at all, Flowkey will again teach you how to play. But the thing about the application of that, I mean, you might be sending the kids to piano lessons, that's great. They can also enjoy Flowkey, but maybe mum and dad are sitting on the sofa of an evening, the kids have gone to bed and they're thinking, oh, I wish I could play. Well, you know what, with Flowkey you can learn in the comfort of your own home. So let's have a look. Let's open the app. I'm going to go in and select the Flowkey app, there we are, and we've got courses. So we've got introduction to the piano, playing with both hands, intermediate piano playing, the sustain pedal. So we can see that there's lots of different courses in here. If I go into introduction to the piano, there we have introduction to the piano, beginner, we've got 8 lessons and we've got 6 songs to learn. Talking of songs, there's also lots and lots of songs already on board, so it's not just about learning the scales and arpeggios and exercises, but there's actually songs on board that we can learn. So for instance, if we went into here and we look at Amazing Grace and we say learn song, so if you want to get a close-up of this, Harry, you can actually see on the screen I've got the piano keyboard, I've got left and right hands, and I've got the play button, and underneath I've actually got the music score. So as I press play, you can see what the pianist is doing, what the teacher is doing, what notes he's playing, and how it relates to the piano score itself. And if I go back there, I can say, okay, I want to learn the right hand. I can have it in wait mode. So when I start, it's actually going to wait for me to play the right key. So if I play the key, it ticks it, and then the next note, C and F. So it makes a tick. So in other words, it won't progress until you press the correct keys. On board, we've not just got skills and exercises. As I said, we've got lots and lots of songs on board, and there's more songs, you know, from jazz and rock and pop. In fact, any type of music that you want to learn to play, so you can play your own thing. There's lots of music constantly being added to it. And as I said, Flowkey comes free at the point of purchase for 3 months at the minute, and it's fabulous.
Well, thank you, Paul. That was really informative.
You're welcome.
As a humble Neanderthalish guitarist, I thought that piano could just go plink, but apparently they can do so much more.
There's a lot to it.
There is so much to it. Just in terms of the range of sounds and the science and the technology behind it, really, I'm amazed. I'm impressed. I'm converted, so thank you for that. I found it entertaining. I hope you found it entertaining. Like, share and subscribe. All the information about the piano is below in the link in the description. You can find the link to it, or the information about it, to our listing on the website there as well, if you'd like to know any more about it. But half of what we can talk about, it can only be shown for yourself, so do come in, check it out for yourself, and thank you very much, Paul. Thank you.
You're welcome. Incidentally, just remembering one thing that we didn't talk about was the binaural sampling, and that's really important to get in the store, get a set of headphones, put the headphones on. The experience that you have will be absolutely unreal. Binaural sampling for CFX and Bösendorfer. There's yet more.
This is what I mean. Half the stuff we have to talk about we can't do, but if you come in, we'll show you it. So thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.